For everything Barbie, get into BBQ Adelaide, Weber Stores, Jeps Cross and Mile End. Prepare to get lit. That we could talk at great length about that store. The one at Jeps Cross that we went to the other day was a life-changing experience. Walking into the building this morning, it's never smelt so good, which is not to say it typically smells bad, although that is sometimes the case. Just that it smelt exceptional this morning with that the very beginnings of the ham sort of wafting through the building. We'll talk more about that with you in just a moment. Other things coming up today. I think we might have David out there now. David, just can you hear us, Will? Can you describe smell?
Well, I was going to say, I'm not sure if you can hear us or if you can see us, but you'll definitely be able to smell us, because I'm out here with Barnesy from the Weber store, Jeps Cross and Mile End, the one that we went into the other day. Barnesy, g'day mate, how are you?
Very well. Good morning.
Early start for you. This is a remarkable setup. So we're just to set the scene, we're here on the 4th floor of the High Marsh Street FiveAA global headquarters, looking out over the eastern side of the city. Barnesy, you've turned this into a sort of like the use of space here is sensational, because you've created on this little 2 by sort of 6 metre balcony. It's become barbecue central out here.
It has, mate. We got here late yesterday. We did a bit of a scene. We set it up, and we got here this morning. We lit the chimney about an hour ago. We got a 10.5 kilo pickled pork going, so that'll be ready at 5 to 9, I'm told. So it'll be absolutely sensational just by the time you get off air.
So you started the coals, get on for a couple of hours ago. That's a whopping ham. That's amazing that it's going to cook that time. I've never actually seen anybody do a ham in a Weber. It's a great way of doing it.
It's a great way of doing it. A lot of people traditionally in Australia heat up an already cooked ham. This is a pickled pork, so we're cooking it from scratch. So it's raw. They pump it full of a brine a couple of days before the butcher. So we're cooking it from scratch for 3.5 hours. 2 hours in, we'll get an awesome crackle. We should be able to take that off. We'll give you something to have for breakfast, and then by 9 o'clock we'll slice it up. We've got a pineapple glaze, cherry glaze. It's going to be amazing.
Mate, if it's anything like those steaks we had for breakfast the other morning at Mile End, where I think you almost had to get security to evict Will and I from the store. I was prepared to set up there for the entire day, but
hey, Dave,
this is going to be a real labour of love, making these repeated trips to the balcony to see how the ham's coming along.
Could you ask Barnesy? We just got a text from Catherine and Nan, who says she's never eaten hot cooked ham, wouldn't even know where to start to cook it. I would need huge help. What's the idiot's guide to cooking the ham? Where do you start?
Barnesy, one of our listeners texted in wanting to know what's the idiot's guide to cooking ham. She said she's never cooked a baked ham or a hot ham before. What's the trick? You sound like you're a bit of a brine guy, that you've used in a pickled pork one.
Well, the idiot's guide to anything these days would be to Google it. So that's what I'd suggest first and foremost. This recipe that we're using comes from the Complete Australian Barbecue Kettle Cookbook. It was written by Ross McDonald and Margaret Kirkwood in 1988. So it's 26 years old, 24 years old. 34 years old, whatever. But the recipe's in here. It comes with every Australian kettle that you ever buy, so it's included in here. The recipe's on page 76, so...
I reckon my parents, when we got our Weber kettle, we got that cookbook in the 80s.
Yep, it was written in 1988. So.
And Margaret Kirkwood, she used to write a food column for The Advertiser. She's an Adelaide lady, from memory, who was sort of like our own local Margaret Fulton, so she knows her tucker as well.
Well, Ross McDonald went to sell her one in 1977, and she'd already bought one 2 years earlier from America, and that's where their relationship started.
Oh, wow.
11 years later.
Sensational. Well, mate, I'll let you get back to the ham, but I'll be making repeated visits out here for ham cam during the show, so good on you, mate. I'll get out of your hair. Cheers, mate. Well, I'll tell you what, if you've got any ham questions, Barnesy's the man with the answers. I'm back here on the balcony. So how far in are we now, Barnesy? About, what, cooking time, almost an hour underway?
An hour.
Oh, look at that. Look at that.
Yep, so
hang on. We've got to get close enough to listen to this. Listen to this. What about the tap?
Oh.
So that's not going to be like crackling. You're going to take that off, aren't you?
Yep, so what we're going to do is we're going to cook this for the first 2 hours. So an hour in, this is going to be crackling. So we're going to take that off in another hour. We're going to eat that.
Oh,
then we're going to score the ham. We're going to layer it with pineapple and cherries. And then we're going to glaze it and finish it off for an hour and a half and smoke it.
So we're actually like getting bonus crackling off the ham, so that we're going to have that on the side, and then when the fat layer's there, what you're going to do the traditional sort of score it into a grid, and then put the marinade on.
Yeah, definitely. So this is one of the best things you can do on Christmas morning because you're up early, you're having a couple of beers, you've got the crackle. It's crackle chips for breakfast and keep going, push it out through the day. It's amazing. Wow. So that's the true bonus of cooking the ham is that crackle.
What's the temperature in there now, roughly, do you reckon?
It's about 200 degrees in the kettle, so just to form that crackle, and we'll probably sit on that throughout the day.
Yeah, right. I would have thought like it would be a slower cook, but you know, I suppose the ham, particularly with the brine, it's going to be able to stand up to it, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. Once the brine heats up, it's going to cook it pretty quickly. So,
yeah, right. So, you know, more importantly, when do you think we'll get our first taste?
8 o'clock, you'll get the first crackling. We should have that ready for about 8 o'clock. So.
Oh, that's only an hour away.
It doesn't matter how many times you do it, you always get nervous, so it looks like it's going to work, so we should have crackle instead of rubber.
Mate, it looks fantastic. It's nice and hard, so we'll get out of your hair, Barnesy. But, mate, you're doing God's work out here, and we don't just need ham cam, we need some sort of, like that John Waters film, Polyester, we need some sort of scratch and sniff type thing for this morning's program, because if you could smell it, and anyone who works in the city, I reckon if you actually stand around downstairs outside the Nova complex, Barnesy's waving off the balcony here like King Canute, the king of barbecue, but you'll be able to cop a nose full of it here. So I got the fun job this morning, Will.
Yeah, we did a countdown clock to 8 o'clock, I think, in the bottom corner of the Foodland Supermarket's Facebook and YouTube live stream, where you can watch a long ham cam throughout the morning. We're going to take a break. 5AA News coming up back short. The Weber this morning, I think we've got the ham cam locked and loaded, and David is out on the balcony with Barnesy at the moment. What's the status update?
Well, I can tell you, Will, there's nothing even remotely as unappetising as that last story happening out here. The ham is looking absolutely fantastic. I'm back with the meat guru from the Weber store, Barnesy. I'll get him to walk through where we're at, mate. It's looking magnificent. So let's have a bit of a recap. How far into the cook are we, and how happy are you with the way it's all unfolding so far?
Mate, the crackle looks good. We're about 2 hours in. Couldn't be happier. Obviously, one of the most nerve-wracking things you can do is try to cook pork crackle. It just smells like summer. It looks like summer. We've got pork crackle. We've got a little bit of sun, which we've been without for about 6 months now in Adelaide. So everything's coming together perfectly. I'm going to rip that crackle off shortly, give you all a taste of it, and then get into glazing it.
Well, we're going to come back out here straight after 8 o'clock for the unveiling of the crackle. How many times have you done this recipe, mate? Because you look very relaxed, and even lifting the lid up and down, I thought that was always a bit of a no-no. And we're obviously doing it for visual reasons, but has the ham sort of got to a point now where you know enough about how it behaves that, you know, because you're a pretty relaxed-looking dude. You don't look like you're going to fly in a panic mode at any stage.
No, I am relaxed because I do this for a living, so I've done it a few times, but you can lift the lid on a Weber. Once your crackle's set, you can lift it. It's better to have a look at and see how it's going than actually not look and burn your food. So,
but it's still cooking from the inside, I guess, because it's so hot now, isn't it?
Yeah, it's cooking from the inside. We've got the crackle set, so now, because it's such a big piece of meat, we are cooking it on the inside. The outside's done, the inside's going to cook now.
Have you got a piece of meat that is like, you know, Rachmaninoff's fifth in shine? Is there a piece of meat that sends you mad? Because apart from once where it accidentally worked, I cannot cook brisket. It sends me around the twist.
No, brisket's okay. Pork ribs are pretty good. Nothing that's put me to the sword yet. So generally, like, most of the stuff's pretty easy to do. So once you've done it 2 or 3 times, we know a lot of people in the industry. No, nothing that I could say is I've failed at.
Mate, I'm gonna take your side off air. I need you to write down some key notes for me about brisket, because I kicked one of your Smoky Mountain barbecues across the backyard once. It was nothing to do with the barbecue, everything to do with me.
Yeah, preparation's 9/10 of the job. All I do is I just Google it before I use it every time. Brisket's not something you cook every day, so it's not something you're going to remember. So if you're going to do a brisket, do your research 2 or 3 days before, Google it. Preparation's 9/10 of the job. If you can set your fire, that's your main part. So we did that at 5 o'clock this morning. We knew that the fire was good. And once your fire's good, everything else should work from there.
Hard to sort of associate standing around the barbecue with having a beer, but it's a bit difficult when it's like 10 to 8 in the morning, isn't it?
Not on Christmas Day. I reckon you can get away with it on Christmas Day or Boxing Day. So I didn't know if we were going to pretend it was Boxing Day today and we'd have a couple lying around, but we'll wait till after lunch.
There might be a few in the fridge left over from last Friday's Christmas party. Well, mate, look, I'll be back out here just after 8 o'clock. I've got crackling fever. It's coming along a treat. You're doing a sensational job, mate, so we'll come back just after the 8 o'clock news.
Thanks for feedback. Thank you.
David, you won't see this, but on Hamcam, because Brooklyn Barn is to the live stream what Thomas Edison was to electricity, she's got a ham countdown clock on the Hamcam at the moment. So we've got the countdown to crackling that's currently underway, and it's only a few minutes away now. So what we'll do is we'll give it over to John Blake and head to 5AA News, and then we'll get the first component of the ham reveal. We've been told you can smell the ham cooking from out in Hindmarsh Square this morning. We've had a countdown clock on the 5AA Facebook live stream that has hit 0, which means it's crackling time. That there is crackling at 8. I think we don't have time for breaking at 8. I know you're heartbroken.
No. We've abandoned the news cycle to embrace the majesty of Barnsley's ham wheel, crackling at 8, replacing breaking at 8 for one day only. But we're just over 2 hours in, and I am holding a little one of those patented Weber alfoil trays of this amazing crackling. During the news break, then Barnsley took the skin off the outside of the ham, and dead set, this stuff looks like shards of glass. It is absolutely perfectly cooked. Barnsley, what's your crackling secret, mate? How do you get it so crunchy?
You try a bit, but it's got to be a dry heat. So you try that. I'll hold this. All right. You have a go at that piece and just have a
listen to this.
Oh, that sounds like a sound effect.
That is what's happening in my mouth. Well,
the crackle it's the key to a great barbecue. Like I said, pork crackle, ham crackle. This is rare, so not everyone cooks the ham. Like I said to you before, if you buy a pickled ham, this is one of the great things on Christmas Day. Get that crispy, crunchy crackling. 10 o'clock in the morning, you can't beat it.
Excuse me, I've got a mouthful of food.
You know what?
Can you reheat the crackling, or does it go a bit soft? You got to sort of eat it when it's done, don't you?
You got to eat it when you cook it, but it won't go far. Let me tell you that, because if you're cooking a ham that big, you're cooking for 10 people minimum. That'll go in 3 minutes.
The flavour on that, mate, is so good, and you haven't stuffed around with it, have you? That's just salt, isn't it?
No salt, nothing. I've just cooked it in the charcoal barbecue there, so no salt on that. That's just
there's no salt at all.
Not at all.
Because I thought you needed to go crazy with the salt to get the crackle, or is it more just you need the meat to be completely dry and you need the heat to be high enough to get it to set?
If you're doing a pork crackle, probably, but because this is the skin of the ham, it's slightly different. So, no salt required on that. That's just 2 hours of heat.
We might let you get to some eating, Dave.
You're sitting in the wrong spot today, Will. This is I'm having the time of my life out here. I'm going to do one of these. I'm going to go to Austral Meats, get a brined ham, and fire up the kettle. The other thing too, these Weber kettles, my Uncle John won one on Sale of the Century. He was a contestant on Sale of the Century. It would have been about 1980-81. But he wasn't a real barbecue nut, and he gave it to my dad. And we've still got that barbecue kettle, and it still goes like the clappers.
And he probably was disappointed at the time that he didn't win the Alfa Romeo, but that wouldn't be going. That would be gone, long gone. So he's actually won. So he's won the Weber kettle.
Rather get the Weber kettle than the old diamond set memento from Bruce and Walsh, that's for sure.
Good on you, David. David out on Hamcam if you're watching along on the Facebook or YouTube live. Much of that. Let's talk ham. David Pemberthy out in the balcony with Hamcam. Let's switch it on and just feast on the delights.
I'm out here, Will. I'm back out here with Barnsley on the balcony. The entire program has been leading up to this. Barnsley's been here since Sparrows, you know what, this morning, mate. How you feeling? You looking confident?
I'm very confident. You haven't been out here since we took the crackle off, so this is the barbecue equivalent of a gender reveal. So I'm going to do it live for you now because you're going to want to see this. You've got to check this out. This is it.
Here we go.
Mate, that is a thing of beauty.
Thank you.
Look at it.
Yeah, so you've got the smoke going through the pineapple
Oh,
there, the
wow.
cherry glaze. It's absolutely amazing.
So for those of you who can't see on the live stream, I'll describe it. So this 10.5 kilogram Austral Meats ham is now covered with about 20 pineapple rings. Each of them has it's a pitted cherry, isn't it, inside of it, held in with a toothpick. It looks absolutely stunning. And all that pineapple juice is going to give it such good flavour. Did you give it a glaze as well, mate?
Yeah, we glazed it. So we made a cherry glaze. So that's in the barbecue kettle cookbook on page 79. Pickled pork. So we're going to cut this up now. We're going to serve it on the dick buns with some coleslaw. It's going to be absolutely amazing. It's as good as you can get. And For all the listeners out there, if they're nervous about what to do for Christmas or they don't know what to cook, come in and see us at any one of the stores at Jeps Cross and Myland over the next few weeks, and we'll do everything we can to make sure you're the king of Christmas this year.
Barnesy, we can't thank you enough, mate. We love our association with you guys at Weber. This ham, it's a sight to behold, and mate, you're an absolute legend. I look forward to tucking in. Have a great Christmas, mate. Good on you, Barnesy.
Merry Christmas.
Good on you, David. Thank you, Barnesy. We're out of time. We'll catch you tomorrow morning from 6. Stick around. Graham Gooding's next.